My 29F husband, 33M, just found out his son wasn't his. Advice? I 29F have been married to my husband 33 meters for a year. Together for 4. My husband was in a long-term relationship from high school to his early 20s. He has 2 children with this woman ages 14, 12. My husband had split with this woman because she was unfaithful to a new level. She would bring different men home while he was deployed. He never questioned his kids being his because he was unaware this was happening before his second child was born. A few weeks ago my husband's ex was trying to skip our weekend with them. And my husband wouldn't stop bringing it up. And his ex dropped that, stop caring about him so much. Guess what? He isn't even your son. My husband didn't believe her at first, but the anxiety was piling on him. He ended up getting a DNA test and his 12-year-old was not his. My husband doesn't love his son any less. And he still wants him every week. He raised that boy. He is his son. He though is crushed. He had a breakdown on me crying. My husband went through 2 tours. Went through years of PTSD. And this woman made my strong surviving husband cry. I am so heartbroken for him. But have so much rage towards her. He's trying to decide if he should tell his son or not. But he doesn't want his son to think his father thinks less of him. My husband is dealing with so many things in his head right now and is hurting so badly. He's not himself. I just want to help ease some of it. Advice? I hate to say it, but better test the older kid too. And get your husband into therapy. Poor guy needs it. If she's that cavalier about using the truth of 12M's paternity to hurt your husband, she may tell 12M to try and alienate him. It would be good for your husband to talk with 12M and reassure him that he will always be his son, regardless of any differences in their DNA. Him speaking the words may help reassure himself. 2. If his ex-wife continues to deny him visitation or custody or in any way tries to use this against him, you may have to get a lawyer involved. I think he should see an attorney to find out what his rights are. I would be worried that the ex-wife may try to deny him visits with the boy. Especially since this came up because she already wanted him to skip his weekend. I feel really bad that your husband has been betrayed in such a way. And I hope that he is able to continue being a wonderful parent to both his children. You've listed at least 3 reasons that would justify someone going into talk therapy. Even if the VA has already discharged him from PTSD treatment, that doesn't mean he's all good and will never need to talk to a professional ever again. He'll need to work with a therapist to not allow this to restart some of the problems he's already had. All you can do is be supportive. Avoid topics that are likely to set him off and try to make sure the rage he'll feel at various points is never directed at the child in question. Oh God, what a heartbreaking story to read. I am sorry you and your husband are going through this right now. This sounds like is far above our pay grade at Reddit. This should be something reserved for professional help. To know the child is not his and hide the fact from him all these years should be punishable by law. I would wait to tell the son until dad has had more time to process. The only exception to this being is if you think the ex will use the info to be cruel to the son. In which case I would tell him sooner than later because you want to make sure he knows he's loved. No matter what. Wow. This is so sad. I've seen this happening in the military while the spouse is away. I would tell his son eventually. But probably when he's older. He's about to go through puberty. So he'll probably get a little messed up in the head if you tell him now. You are a wonderful wife. As others have mentioned, that bargain of a former wife sounds spiteful enough to spill the beans to her son. So it might be best to preempt her. There must be counselors family therapists, etc., who have addressed this issue and can advise on the best way to break the news. God, I'm so sorry about this. But your husband is a stand-up guy for not giving up on his relationship with his child. I'd consult a therapist about how to approach this. It's a lot for a child to process and there's a lot of layers. Mom is horrible. Worried about dad ditching. Who is the bio dad? And this kid is going to have a lot of questions. Your husband needs to be in the right space to answer those questions. I do think he needs to know the truth from his dad, only because with the prevalence of DNA and ancestry kits, people are getting surprised by news these days, and the double whammy of it being a secret can cause a lot of harm. For now, just support your husband and remind him that you are with him in this. You love your stepson. You love your husband, etc. And be there as he deals with each step. Heart. He's trying to decide if he should tell his son or not. But he doesn't want his son to think his father thinks less of him. It's a horrific situation, but he should. That way he can tell his son on his own terms. If this woman is evil enough to not only knowingly string him along thinking he's the dad all this time, but to also throw it in his face like that, then it's only a matter of time before she throws it in her son's face to try and drive a wedge between them. Sometimes the truth is best summed up as a coffee mug saying, any man can be a father, but it takes someone special to be the daddy. Please talk to an attorney, especially since the mother has always known. There are some alienation of affection laws. And in no way should she twist this and blame it on your husband. How truly sad. Your husband needs a lawyer and a therapist. He needs the lawyer to enforce his custody agreement. And any parental alienation, a therapist will help him deal with what he's going through now, as well as give him advice on what and how to tell his son. Did he test the other child too? If not, please do. Bless his heart, I can't imagine. She a vindictive ch. I'd take her to court. No only did she lie and deceive him to raise and pay for a child that wasn't his, but now she throwing it in his face to justify her not dropping them. I think personally he should take himself to IC, but also bring his son so he can be told in the right environment, only because it sounds like she would do anything to hurt him, including telling the child herself in a hurtful way. Bless his heart. Just be there for him and comfort him. Remind him he is a good man and father. When he tells him, just have him remind the child, this doesn't change a thing. Like, I love you so much and you are my son, nothing will change that. He needs an emergency appointment with a therapist ASAP. I would get a court-ordered DNA test so if he is paying child support for him that it can be deducted from his withholding. Also a test for the other child as well. I think your husband needs to tell his son that blood doesn't make a family, that the 12-year-old is still his son. The son needs to know because the mother might say something cruel in his hearing. The son might use your husband's health records as his biological father for illness risk factors. And of course those will not apply. So he might think because there's, for example, no history of heart disease or diabetes or whatever in your husband's family, he won't have it, and might one day overlook illness symptoms because he couldn't have inherited those problems, when he might have. The downside to telling him is he might lash out in sadness and anger. Does his school have a therapist? Do you and your husband have access to a therapist? I think both your husband and his son might benefit from a therapist helping work through this issue. Here's what he needs to say, but only if it's true. I don't care if we aren't genetically related. I still raised him, which means he is my son. And then he takes his ex to court for trying to skip his mandated visitation. That kid is his son. DNA doesn't matter. He should fight to get him.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.